Hey, what's up, guys? Normally I would be saying welcome back, but I really hope there's a lot of you new guys here that are thinking about jumping into this awesome hobby. And in that case, I say welcome. If you look in the description below, I'll have links to other helpful videos and playlists that will help you along the way and show you how to build your own multi-rotors. I will also be leaving links to parts and products that we will be talking about throughout this video. For those of you that have been around for a while, if I leave anything out, leave it in the comment box below. So how much does this hobby cost? Well, just to sum it up, that is what you will be doing all the time. And they wouldn't make shirts like this if it wasn't true. But on a serious note, I really can't answer. I can't give you an exact number because everyone is different. Everyone has different needs, wants, opinions. So what I will do is tell you everything that you need and everything that you may want with a minimum, maximum, and average price for everything. That way you can decide how much you want to spend. First, let's talk about shipping. I know this isn't a part or anything, but it does play a huge role in how much you spend. My two tips are, instead of placing an order here and then an order here another day, an order here and another day in a different place, and what I do is, as I break parts, or if there's a new product that I want to try out, or if I'm just ordering new supplies, I write everything down on a notepad, and once to twice a month I will place one order from one website, and that saves me so much money on shipping. My second tip is look for places with free shipping. The first place I go when I buy parts is going to be Amazon, eBay, and Banggood. More often than not, you will find free shipping for the part you are wanting to buy. If I can't find the part that I'm looking for on one of those three websites, then I will go somewhere else. Now you need a transmitter. This will range from 50 to 250 bucks. One of the most common are going to be the Free Sky Tyrannus. It costs 200 to 220. It sounds like a lot of money, but you get a lot for what you pay for. This competes with some of the $500 transmitters. It has every feature you can imagine. You can use it on multi-rotors, airplanes, gliders, cars, boats, anything. You can also look into Spectrum products. I personally don't own any Spectrum products, but they are great products, so you can look into some of their transmitters, and the prices are going to be very similar. Now, a new transmitter that's coming to the hobby, and is all the rage right now, that's why it's sold out everywhere, at least at the time of recording this, is the Turnkey Evolution. This is a $70 transmitter, and I've tested other transmitters in the $50 to $100 price range, similar to this. This one is by far my favorite. In fact, just as far as my racing and freestyling multi-rotors, I like it more than the Tyrannus. Now, I still love the Tyrannus for everything else because this is limited to pretty much just multi-rotors, and you don't have that many switches and stuff, so it's kind of limited, but I love it. Now factor in the price of receivers. Depending on what brand of receiver you need, this could be $10 to $25. Then figure out how many multi-rotors you plan on building. I came into this hobby saying I only want one good one. Next thing you know, I have a YouTube channel and 15 of these things. As far as the drone or multi-rotor itself, I'm not talking about the FPV setup, but just to get it flying. And by the way, all the prices I'm giving you are referring to these size builds, which is going to be the average, I'd say 150 millimeters to 250 millimeters. If you want something small like this, you can build them dirt cheap. If you want a big behemoth like this with GPS, head tracking, electronic gimbals, everything but the kitchen sink, it's going to be a lot more. So these prices are just for these. I would say the motors, ESCs, frame, flight controller, PDB, everything you need to get it running. The minimum 80 bucks, maximum 300. Average being 180 to 200. I know some guys are going to say, oh no, you can build it a lot cheaper than that. Yeah, you're right, you can. That's why I gave you a minimum price. Now, you new guys, I'm not telling you to go by the average price. If you're building your first one, you are going to crash. You will crash all the time. All of us crash all the time, and things break all the time. You're talking about slamming these into guardrails, phone poles, trees, concrete at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. Nothing is invincible. Everything breaks. So for your first one, I will recommend going on the cheaper side of things. Now for your FPV setup, which will be the camera, video transmitter, and antenna. Minimum, I'd say $8 for a camera and $10 for a video transmitter, and then you can make your own antenna for $2. Maximum, I I own a camera that's $120, an $80 video transmitter, and a $50 antenna. Now that's for different builds. That's not for these. But you can get a good camera for 35 bucks, good video transmitter for 25, and antenna for 8. Or you can make your own antennas. I do have videos showing you how to do that. For the receiving part of the FPV setup, some guys use monitors. You can get them for 30, 40 bucks. Some guys use TVs or laptops. You do have to have an external receiver to receive the video and another antenna. Receivers can be $15 to $200, depends on how much you want to spend. Most of us use goggles. You can get goggles as cheap as 80 bucks, sometimes even cheaper, but they don't include the receiver and antenna. You kind of need that. So yeah, you can find them for 50 bucks, but by the time you buy the receiver and antenna, it winds up being 80 bucks. These aren't as good looking. They are big and boxy, but they get the job done. The most you'll spend is 600. What I personally use are the Fat Shark Dominator V3s. These run 300 to 350. You can get Fat Sharks cheaper, as cheap as 200 and up to 500. I don't recommend starting off on these because you could come into this hobby and just not even like it. And then you have all this money tied up in the goggles and transmitters and all this other stuff. I have a video showing you how you can view your FPV using a cell phone and a $10 adapter. So I would recommend just trying that out first and then go from there. If you want to record that good looking HD footage, we're not actually recording from these FPV cameras, we're using HD cameras. You can get cheap HD cameras for $50 to $100, and I will honestly say some of these perform almost as good as GoPros. I'm not even going to lie. I like some of these a lot. But if you do want what's considered top of the line, the GoPros, the Hero 2 and 3, I don't know what they sell for nowadays, probably 100 to 150. I use the Hero 4 Black, which is now selling for 300, and the Hero 4 Session, which now sells for 200. The newest is going to be the Hero 5 GoPro for 400 and the Hero 5 Session for 300. My tips as far as buying GoPros, I never buy the newest model because the second a newer model releases, the now next to newest model drops in price drastically. That's why there's a $100 difference between the Session 4 and Session 5, but there's practically no difference. Now you need batteries and a battery charger, and this actually gets pretty expensive. As far as the battery charger, you can get a good one for 50 bucks and you'll spend at the most 300. The one I use is 200, but that's just because it has a bunch of extra features. It has a USB charge port that I use to charge my cell phone, my Session, anything else that uses a USB. Built-in soldering iron, Bluetooth. I can connect it to my car battery, but they do make a model just like mine. Only difference is it doesn't have the soldering iron, and it's $100, so half the price. I think that's a really good price point. As far as batteries, once again, for these size builds, you're looking at 3S to 4S sizes. I'd say 1,000 milliamps an hour to 1,500. What this means is you'll spend between $8 to, I don't like to spend more than 25. They do go higher than that. I've seen them as high as 40, 50 bucks. The majority of my batteries are 1300 4S, and I spend between 20 to 25. I do have some that are cheaper in the $15 price range. How many do you need? I would recommend, I don't know, just buying 3 and trying it out. See how you like it. Maybe you want more, maybe 3 is fine. You can't go wrong with 3. Now, one thing to keep in mind is batteries do not last forever. They are a consumable. They have a lifespan, and every time you use a battery, you take that lifespan decreases every time you use a battery. It's not much. It's only going to take off a couple seconds per of your flight time, but just imagine after you use the same battery about 60 times, you're going to lose a lot of that flight time, and eventually it's just going to not work anymore. Also, my batteries usually don't even make it to the end of their lifespan because, like I keep saying, everything breaks. Everything. You will often damage cells, 1 cell, 2 cells, sometimes 3 cells. Sometimes you can overheat them if you just go crazy with it. You can over discharge them, which will drastically reduce the lifespan. So how long do they last? For some guys, they only last a month. Some guys, they last a year. It just depends on you, how often you fly, how well you take care of your batteries, and how often you crash. Props. Props are cheap, but let's talk about it. My rule of thumb, I refuse to spend more than $1 per prop. So if it's a pack of 2, I will not spend more than $2. If it's a pack of 4, I will not spend more than $4. Ideally, the majority of my props I get for about 50 cents each. So if it's a pack of 4, I get them for about $2, and I'm fine with paying $2 for a pack of 4. Now, what a lot of guys do, and I'll leave a link for you in the description, they go to Banggood and get the King Kong props, and you can get a box of 20 for about $7. There are other props in that same price range, but they're not as quality. I think the King Kongs are probably the best bang for the buck. Spare parts. I know a lot of guys will disagree with me on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is just my opinion. You don't have to do this, but I recommend having one spare of everything. And I don't mean a spare transmitter like this or spare FPV goggles. I mean at least one motor, one ESC, one flight controller, camera, video transmitter, anything that can possibly break on these. The reason being, well, because you're new, you're going to crash, and you probably break one of 10 different things that can possibly break within the first week. It happens. We all crash. As you get better, you won't break things as often, but you still break things. I still break things. But you're going to want to buy a new part and put it back on as fast as possible, because you just want to go back to flying as soon as you can. So a lot of guys will actually go and spend extra money for shipping. They'll get 1 or 2 days shipping and spend an extra $20 just to get that part as soon as they can, and then you still have to wait 2 to 3 days. Or if you had that spare part already on you, you're not paying any extra for shipping, and you don't have to wait a second. You already have it. The other reason is, say your video stops working because a part becomes damaged. The thing is, when you wreck these, they don't always get damaged on the outside. You can't physically see anything wrong with it. They oftentimes get damaged internally. If your video stops working, it could be your camera, video transmitter, sometimes your PDB, depending on how you wire it, your on-screen display, LC filter. If your motors stop working or they start twitching or something, it could be the motor, the ESC, the flight controller, or your receiver. Point I'm trying to make is, if you have those spare parts, you can swap them out one by one until you find the problem. You find the bad part, because like I said, you can't visually see what's wrong with it. If you don't have those spare parts, then it's kind of a guessing game. There are ways of diagnosing and finding out what part is bad, but usually when you're new into this hobby, you haven't learned that yet. I do make videos showing you guys how to go about this, but I will say the easiest way is just having those spare parts. Not only that, but like I said, it's just good to have them, because if I break a camera, I just want to throw a new camera on and go back to flying. I'm not waiting a week or paying extra for shipping to get a new camera. I'm going to reach in my drawer right here. I'm going to grab a new camera and I'm going to put it on. Like I said, that's just my opinion. As far as tools, you don't need that many. I'd say the minimum is going to be a set of these small Allen wrenches, a set of small screwdrivers, a soldering iron with solder and electrical tape. I highly recommend a helping hand. It's not a necessity, but I use this every day. A hot glue gun and blue Loctite. You can get more than that. I actually have a heat gun, but I cannot live without this. This is a hot air gun. I got it for $35 off of eBay, and if you watch my repair video series where I show you, like I do my own flight controller repairs, video transmitters, cameras, ESCs, you name it. I've repaired everything. And I use this in every single one of those videos. Just imagine repairing a $35 flight controller. This is already paid for itself. Now imagine repairing 500 different things. That's a lot of money that I've saved. And it only cost me $35. You might want to consider a bag to carry everything in. This can be a $15 book bag to a $200 specially made bag just for multi-rotors. Personally, I'm using a $45 tactical military bag. And then just random stuff. I'm not going to go too far into it. I'm just talking about stuff like plastic welding rods, extra standoffs, bolts in 3mm every size from 5 to 14mm, JST connectors in every shape and size, chargers in 5V and 12V. You get the idea. And that's going to do it for this one. So hopefully you have a better idea of how much you may or may not want to spend on this hobby. For those of you that have been here a while, then if I left anything out, then let the other viewers hear it in the comment box below. Thanks for watching, and I hope I see you around soon. You stick around a while.